country. So if you're looking to buy real estate in a market that has Tesla moving to it, that has Dell, that has a bunch of Google headquarters moving to it, a bunch of Facebook employees moving to it, a bunch of AI, it's like one of the defense AI centers of the country, but it's, the average unemployed, laid off during COVID from pretty good jobs, and no money, trying to figure life out. Their first year in business in a window cleaning company, they did $200,000 in revenue. The next year they did $500,000 in revenue. This year they'll do somewhere between $700,000 and $1 million in revenue. And these are two kids that are both sub 28 years old, one with a newborn baby on the way. And how did they do it? They added or created over the last 3 years as the past 10 years. And that's just determined by like LLC and entity creation. But it's never been hard to have a profitable business. So most small businesses, 90% of them never even hit the $1 million mark. And so with that out there, I've always had this idea of, well, it's really hard to figure out product market fit in a small business, right? Like most businesses, somewhere between 30 to 40% of them die because they couldn't find product market fit. Just they had an idea and nobody wanted their idea, right? And so I'm kind of like that. I don't know that I have a crazy idea that somebody's going to want to buy. I never had that. And so instead, I'm like, why don't I just buy a couple of these small businesses and I can partner with the founder of the small business. And I know that somebody already wants it because they have revenue and it's profitable. And I can just help it grow. And so we see that again and again and again. But nobody taught us this in school because there's risk, right? You can go get a job at Kinsey or Bain.
Work to something. Yeah. I don't think you literally just need to work hard. This is why I've gone into detail on that. So whatever that thing is that you're rounding into, do you have a mental model for why that's so important?
I see what you mean. Well, one of my favorite questions to ask when I interview people is, when was the last time you worked all night on something by your choice? And what was it? What did you do?
Literally for me?
Like, well, yeah, for you. I know what it was for you, though.
The last time I worked through the night. It's a good question. I think that was for the comics. That was the last time because we had a deadline to pitch. And so I had to hit that deadline. Yeah, that was the last time.
Or don't want to be around. So it's sort of this like people, purpose, and this learning component. That if I have those three things, the hard work is really fun. But if I don't have those three things, then perhaps the hard work feels futile, unnecessary, and more like labor than work.
I'm curious to hear if this resonates with you. There's a spiritual component to your mission to get people to consider buying small businesses that now I've always known that was true, but I didn't know why it was true. Now teasing that stuff out. So some of this is an aspect of a life well lived for you.
Yeah, I think that's true. Did you ever work at Cubicle?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you work at Cubicle when you didn't work for yourself?
Yes.
Have you seen the Tucker Carlson response to postmodernist architecture?
No, but I've seen the headlines. I wish that I had
it's beautiful. I can send you the clip afterwards if people are curious. But basically, he's in an interview with
push and promote. You have a very unique stance on, hey, there's a thing you're probably not thinking about that's not currently in the zeitgeist, that's the cool thing, the boring business, the gateway business that will make you realize these being run by people smarter than you. That's what co-op Steve Jobs quote. I think that's really important. I think that marrying that back to your message is going to be really important so that people understand, hey, Codie Sanchez, I'm trying to reach out into your soul and help you find that path to the thing you secretly want, which I come to you around to fulfillment. I think that's what everybody wants. And so I have a mental framework for why hard work is so important. I think we have an evolutionary algorithm that runs in our mind that absolutely mandates that we work hard, and that nature only has two levers, pleasure and pain. Nature over God knows how many hundreds of thousands of millions of years has been shaping us from amoeba to now, saying surviving is going to be hard, and my job as nature is to keep you alive long enough to have kids. So there are going to be certain things I'm going to incentivize. And if you get a tremendous dopamine rush or whatever, when you work really hard and make progress towards a goal, now all of a sudden you're going to want to do that. Because man, if you watch the TV show Alone,
no,
I need to like start getting a kickback from Amazon, who is really what you said, hard work, and what I call the physics of progress, which is just, it's iteration. It's very important that you do the steps, but if you can work hard and run the physics of progress, you really can pull this off. But I think people need to contextualize, oh, this is a spiritual journey. I'm doing this as somebody who's pursuing fulfillment. I'm doing this as somebody who looks out at this particular moment, which I certainly do, I think you share, and we're at the point where wrong ideas taking a hold of people. And so we're talking about business, recession, et cetera, et cetera. This is really about what ideas should win, and hard work. Recognize you can buy business if you so choose. Autonomy is a major driver for you. It can be a real path out. Like, I think people fail if people just hear the change of the cash register and don't understand you're speaking their soul as much as you're speaking their pocketbook, they'll get lost.
Yeah, and I think one of the best books of all time for that is Atlas Shrugged, which has had some political connotation, which I don't know why, because it really is about this idea of the joy in finding the things that you need to build to create on this planet. And there's one quote I love from it. It's to summarize businesses. And I remember almost every single one of those businesses at some point having a moment where I thought I realized everything. I remember one company approached me where we got all of our money stolen from a guy that we thought we were best buds with. And then it was like kind of public about it, how much that hurt. I remember when we had our first car wash deals go through, we thought we were gonna sell for a huge amount of money, and the whole thing fell through, and then we just didn't have the grit to like keep going. You're so close to the finish line, it's like seeing marathon right in front of you, and all of a sudden like, just kidding, then we're miles, and we're ready for that. And so I remember all of those hard moments, and I think those build you up and enable you to kind of keep going. And you build these houses, right? It's just like ways to do it. At some point, like, you'll feel as much. And anytime I feel it too much, I go to a book from great. Like we were talking before, I read Ted Turner's book called The Right Now. It's incredible because he goes through like the things that bother. He goes through his difficulty like it's Tuesday. And I was like, well, we lost $100 million on the games over there. And he goes to like moves to the next line. And I rewound it a couple times, and I said to myself, I want to be so big and have created so much wealth and prosperity that I can say, oh, we lost $100 million on that. Think about that. But there's a guy out there who that's what he thinks. And then for all those people who are like crunching, like, hey, making money, think the world's gonna end, all about climate change. What do you do with his millions? He owns now the biggest bison preserve in the world and has single-handedly brought back almost the level of bisons in his area, is Wyoming. So guess what? Money do what I do.
No doubt. What is the single hardest thing you've done?
And then I sort of think on my way to finding something that I think is me. And so I think that's a lot of us do. It's okay to have very career paths. It's okay to make a lot of mistakes. You just try to not make ones that are lifetime early. And so I'm a big proponent of marriage, being married is the best thing that ever happened to me this go around. And the strongest partner I have by far has never been Chris in any sense of the word. But I probably would have made a decision early without fully knowing myself, through having gone through a lot of things and realizing what I was really not going to continue.
You've got to get your tongue right. Like if you don't maintain, if your tongue doesn't reflect your actual priorities, you're in real trouble. So I keep what I call important things.
Yeah.
And the important things are, what is the most important thing that I could be working on right now? And I will just tell any stage entrepreneur, but certainly beginning stage entrepreneurs, you're going to have trouble prioritizing. And the reason you're going to have trouble prioritizing is because you think you're dumb. But in reality, the problem is no one's going to prioritize until they've done it a lot. And then you begin to get a sense of, okay, this is to quote Tim Ferriss, this is the lead domino. If I do this thing, it'll make everything that comes after easier. So you'll start to identify those things. And you can do those until you can't do them anymore, either from fatigue or there's just nothing more to do and now you're waiting for somebody to come back to you, whatever. Then you move on to the second thing. But I find everybody gets paralyzed by I don't know what to put in first place. And so now
here, give it intense, maybe do a workout break or a walk in between, come back to intense, and then go live your life. And if you're like me, you're gonna work way more than that, but like be here when you're gonna be here. Like think about work like meditation. You should be so singularly focused and that all distraction sort of fades away. And if you do that, then you have to work less because you're so much more effective. But I remember early on in my career, it's why I couldn't stay at Vanguard actually, because I was sitting at a desk and I was like, those ducks where underneath the surface they're paddling like crazy, but on top there, smooth, that was me. I was drowning. I didn't know anything about finance. I come from journalism. Everybody was smarter than me. Everybody went to Harvard and Stanford, etc. I went to Arizona State, Harvard the West, as you said. And I remember one of my teammates came up and started talking to me about lunch planning and stuff, and I was like, Cece, I'm focused. I don't have time to talk about any of this. I'm here, man. We can talk like after work, but like I'm here now. And it happened like a few times. And I wasn't trying to be a jerk. I just couldn't be distracted because then I lost my focus entirely. And I probably had a little ADHD, and so it would derail me for like 30-40 minutes. And I remember that happened. And then my boss at one point was like, your team thinks that you would leave dead bodies behind you. And I was like, huh, really? Why? And they're like, well, you don't pay attention when they come up to your desk. You don't do party planning. And I was like, guy, I am here to do a job. And I would never like run over somebody to do the job, but I will be singularly focused to get it done. And so that is, I think, what it takes.
Off that, or are you, because now as a CEO, I have to imagine,
you
got to make people feel a little more warm and fuzzy. Or have you found a way to be like, yo?
I have good people who are more warm and fuzzy than I am. So I found in life, like you are, kind of. And every time I try to become somebody that I'm not, first of all, it comes off as inauthentic. And second of all, it doesn't really work. So if I come in and I'm too warm and fuzzy, nobody's going to buy it. I am fun, I think. Like I'm aggressive, but I'm fun. So I'll make jokes. And I do something every Monday called the Compass. And basically it's just a little PowerPoint, 10 minutes that I give to the whole team. And in it are a few things like our culture code. Every single week I go through what the 13 values are. I pick like one person who wins like something for one of our values. And that will be some funky fun word for. And if they still like it after that, then they might be a win. But otherwise, at least they know. You know?
We have a very similar thing. So it's our culture doc. You can't come in the interview unless you've read it.
Ooh,
and yeah, oh yeah. And the funny thing is, I've had multiple people say, hey, we've lost a lot of candidates when they read the culture doc. And I'm like, that's the point. Because I want them to know who we are. And if you're not about that life, then this is not the place for you. I am trying to win a championship. Nothing short. I'm not trying to be an also-ran. I'm not trying to play and get a participation trophy. I'm flat out. I'm trying to beat Disney. And that is a big task. And the odds of success are very low. And so I want to have fun, but I also want to be surrounded by hardcore motherfuckers that are here to win. And the document says exactly that. And yeah, it is very aggressive. And so yeah, we have weeded people out. But what I always say to people saying like, hey, are we sure? Like this thing's really aggressive. I'm like, I found you. I'm like, what's your favorite thing about this company? The people? Exactly. Like we are a very specific flavor. And if you like our flavor, I like to think we're like black licorice, which I love. Now I know for some people that's the most disgusting thing in the universe. And so I'm like, we're that kind of specific. For the right person, like we will be the favorite place you've ever worked. And for the wrong person, we will be trash. So for any of my entrepreneurs out there, let me tell you right now, culture is one of the most important.
Eat the broccoli. Oh my gosh, that's where all the magic is. It's actually funny because I was sitting with this the other day. I went to Team 3 of the Navy SEALs 40th anniversary of being in existence, right? It's cool. So this was the team that my husband was at. And we go onto the new base. It's incredible. Like we take a tour through, these halls where like our friends, their gear when they were, killed in action is sitting there. And my husband had a flag with his name written on it that was like taken away from ISIS and showed our, it was just incredible, right?
That's heavy.
It was really cool. It was cool to see the steps that land from people that you've known before. But what stuck with me, I'm trying to think too. But I think one of the ways that people don't realize is super easy to get ahead is there's two things. First, competence, which means there are actually very few competent, hardworking, driven people in this world. Way more than I think people realize. And you've seen it before. Like you've seen when somebody goes 10% more than they were. It's pretty rare, actually. Like how many people have you had come in here and not impress you? Just be kind of like everybody else. And then you notice the guy who's like, oh no, he's here before everybody else. Oh, he stays a little bit later than everybody else. Could be 10 minutes on both ends. Oh, he like submitted a brief and updated without being asked. Like do the work. Be that one competent human in a ocean of humans who are complacent instead of competent. And then the second thing I think that surprised me about how easy, quote unquote, easy it was to succeed is that most people say they want things, but they say it almost like hopes instead of wills. And so, my husband and I kind of talk about this a lot. We're like, do you want it or are you going to do it? And he has this one saying to me, which is like, are you a good white shark or are you a great white shark? He says it to me. He says it to me often when we're working out, which is why I really remember him. But it's like a little family motto. Like, are you going to be kind of okay and good? Or are you going to be great? And the difference between great and 10% and nobody strives for it. And so for people listening, I mean, I don't know. Look, like how easy is that? Be there 10% earlier and stay 10% later than everybody else in your company for 6 months. Like, watch what happens. And if that doesn't get noticed in that company, go to the next one. Or build the next company in the 10 minutes that you're there in the beginning and the end. So I did Goldman Sachs. I got recognized by the most senior director, and then I had multiple job opportunities after that. I was smarter than everybody else. I didn't go to any fancy schools. I didn't have an MBA then, but I worked slightly harder than everybody else. I was competent, and I did a little bit more than everybody else. And that was it.
When somebody's aggressive, when they are working harder than other people, when you can tell they want it, it's a joy to be around. Like there really is something. And I talk about this a lot. Like don't make me drag you. Don't make me drag you. I'll drag you across the finish line if I have to because I am going to succeed. But goddamn, like if you can make me sweat, that's thrilling. When I'm around people, I'm like, whoa, all right, look at this person. Like they're really showing up, they're playing to win. It's intoxicating. It's just for the right person. For me,
I'll often say, explain to me this, let me fix. And then if they bring me a very large deal, Sam Zell is famous for this. I'm a big Sam Zell fan. He wrote Am I being too subtle? Famous, they call him the Grave Dancer. And he was
Grave Dancer?
Yeah.
It's quite the name.
He was famous for turnarounds of real estate businesses. So he would take them out of the grave. They would say danced on it, but he would take these businesses that were going to fail and then turn them around and build them to something huge. And Sam just passed away actually. And he famously, when they would bring him a deal, like some multi-$100 million deal they were going to do, one deal they threw in front of him, big deal, had a deal book, professional, all these stats and everything, and he just flipped it back to him and he said, "Should we do the deal?" And the guy's like, I have 400 pages prepared here. And he goes, "Give this deal to me in a one-page brief, and then I'll know you understand it."
Facts.
Yeah.
So important. Oh my God, I'm constantly telling people, say your thesis in a single sentence.
Yeah.
Because if you can't say it in a single sentence, you don't understand it.
You don't understand it. And I realized this for myself too. In fact, if you want to get ahead quickly, I think associating yourself with people who already have things you want is really important. One of the easiest ways to do that back in corporate land was everybody fought for one job, and that was the chief of staff job. You want to be chief of staff for one of the senior leaders. And the reason why is because you learn one, what they care about, and how you know what they care about from the daily briefs you put together for them. And so you actually got a way to steal their 10,000 hours by looking at the very few things that they look at every day to determine what was important for them. And so briefing has become really important in my company. People know
I like, I need to do briefs like
this.
this.
Let me tell you, there's nothing sexier than a hot brief. And it's funny, because my team the other day, there's one woman came on does incredible briefs. And why does that matter? Because it shows me how you think and the way you think tells me how you work, and how you work tells me what you prioritize. And so these briefs are incredible. And the best way to learn them is you can actually see examples of president's daily brief and who can have a more succinct, important daily brief than the President of the United States. And so a lot of my team will look at that, and they'll also look at briefs for some of the largest CEOs out there. And so if you have a team that all get in the habit of doing this, and that I think is an incredible skill to do that.
Yeah, I love that the most. We will definitely be doing that.
I'll take some examples.
Yeah, please, that would be incredible. Okay, so when you're going about learning something, for me anyway, it's really rudimentary. It's I need to know the terms. So that's gonna be the first thing. So in fact, I went on a similar journey for a very different reason. So when COVID hit, I realized, the people are going back all the time in
inner cities. I was like, they're going to get obliterated. I didn't understand money printing yet, so I just thought they're fucked. And so I was like, okay, I've got to find a really tactical, like personal finance vein to get people in on the show so that I can help angles as humanly possible. Have you ever seen those like sculptures that are made out of trash, but you can only see what they are from like one specific angle?
Cool.
Okay, that's life.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking at business from the wrong angle, it looks like this big crazy mystery, and it looks like Klaus Schwab is, the evil madman. He's going to take over.
Yeah.
You start twisting around, and you realize, it's just a bunch of people who think that they're smarter than they are, and they really should learn to distrust themselves. But once it clicks in place, and you realize that Steve Jobs was right, the world is created by people smarter than you, then it's like, oh, I'm seeing how this really is. But to do that, you have to see it from lots of different angles. So when I'm reading about topic, I'm trying to get as many different perspectives on that thing as I can, so I can triangulate on what the truth really is. Then once I have that, I have a sense of what this is, I'll formulate my own hypothesis. Hypothesis will make predictions. Then I go test that prediction. Now that prediction is accurate, and I know that I'm actually understanding this. And this is whether you're talking about business or romance, boys and girls. Your brain is a prediction engine. Once you realize that,
It's very hard to discern what is objectively true. Very hard. Even at the level of physics, we don't know. So objective truth. So you get into perspective and interpretation. Okay, cool. But all of these things make a prediction. So I think if I do this, I'm going to get this outcome. Well, do it. If you got that outcome, then your understanding, your mental map of the world is pretty close. If you try it and you get something completely different, you need to understand your mental model is broken. So if you point to other people, oh, it's their fault, it's the economy's fault. No, you didn't understand something. That's why it broke. Because let's remind St. Codie that booze on block tongues. It doesn't matter how much somebody's trying to trip you up. It doesn't matter how bad the economy is. There is a solution to that puzzle. You just didn't find it. And so if you can own that, update your mental model, and try again just recognizing it as a prediction engine. So that's how I go in to learn any new thing. Does that sound roughly analogous to what you do?
I actually think I am much dumber on this. So the way
I'm going to say it isn't dumb.
I said, well, let's go to a place where they're talking about finance. So I go to a conference. Then I sit next to this lady. I get curious about her. I ask her all about her. I ask all about Vanguard. I get really curious about her job. What does she care about? What does she do? What's their mission? And when I get all those questions, I write down the answers. And so I'm actually getting the cheat code to what a hiring manager cares about at Vanguard because I'm asking her questions. And then she gets intrigued by the fact that unlike most humans, I'm not talking at her. I'm asking her information, and I'm very tuned in. I'm like focused on her intently. And I follow up, which most people also don't do. I send an email afterwards. It was so amazing to talk to you. Here are 3 things I learned. Super interesting. Love to have coffee with you a second time. We have coffee again. I just ask a bunch more questions, and then she asks me to apply for this very it was a rotational development program. So tons of people, all these fancy degrees everywhere in Little Codie who didn't know what a security or a mutual fund was. But I think the difference was I was really curious, and that is an abnormal thing in a world of humans who pretend that they know what they mean.
So crazy.
And then so if I was trying to do this again, I would do the same thing. When I wanted to get into content, what did I do? I just went and tried to talk to humans who knew something about content that I wanted to know. So if I wanted to
Utility is my God. Yeah. Now, if you are pursuing something stupid, you will pursue the utility of stupid things. But if you're pursuing something honorable and it's the meaning and purpose for your life, how could you be focused on anything other than utility? That's the thing that drives me crazy. Thomas Sowell is, he just has one of my favorite quotes. And he says, the last 30 years have been marked by exchanging what worked with what sounds good. Yeah. And that is blasphemy in my worldview because you are now abandoning utility, actual usefulness, actually moving in the direction of the thing that you want. And this is why, again, I'm just going to beat this drum to death. People need to understand what motivates their reasoning. Everybody's reasoning is motivated. It's motivated towards something. We were looking at the Tucker Carlson thing. Postmodernism, motivated by power. So you get, to your point, I've never thought about it before, so I certainly reserve the right to change my opinion about anything at any time, but that the brutalism of the structures, which if anybody's never looked up brutalist architecture, it's actually a style of architecture that is brutal. Yeah. Heavy concrete, very few windows.
Post-Soviet sort of Eastern Bloc. Yeah,
right. And ironically, one of them was just built in LA, which there was like a whole huge backlash, which I'm not surprised. Anyway, and the fluorescent lights and all that. If your assessment is right about why they're doing that, and my assessment is right that postmodernism really, and no, there actually is an increase in likelihood of suicide post-surgery. I don't know that's true. I'm just saying if it were. If in that moment they go, okay, word, like what we're seeing in England, where they've now banned the use, not just Tavistock closing down, they've now banned the use of puberty blockers on minors. Okay, so they look at the data and they change. Word, I'm here for that. But if somebody looks at the data and then they say, oh, no, we still need to do it for this reason. And you'll get this all the time with in business, where somebody will say, this is why I couldn't get that thing done. And you're like, okay, well, why didn't you do this? Well, no, that's not really the reason. It was because of this. Okay, why didn't you do that? Well, no, it's not really that. It's this. I will say, you're
do not have to be super deep mathematical learnings. They can be understanding assumptions and how to read the math that's happening behind the scenes. And I think a lot of the reasons why we get sold a bunch of lies is because we don't actually understand statistics and scientific method. So we end up going with what feels good and sounds good as opposed to what actually works. And Thomas Sowell is a genius at this for many different reasons. But if people haven't read Economic Facts and Fallacies from him, incredible book. If people haven't read Statistics for Dummies, good. If you don't have a basis for how to understand when they show you I always love that example of sometimes when I go on the news, they'll ask me, what is the average XYZ? What is the average? And average really bother me on average because it's a really poor way to measure, right? Especially monetarily. It's like, what does the average American make? Well, it really depends how you determine average because you have a few outliers. And there you have a bar. Everybody makes 100K. Bill Gates walks into the bar. All of a sudden, the average income goes from 100K to $10 million, whatever that would be. Why is that? It's because you should have used median and not average. And that's not actually mathematically difficult to understand. We could start there. We don't have to go to super complex biology, understanding cryptology, and deep understanding of the network state. We could just start with statistics and scientific method as opposed to. I go, well, because we have our creed and our values, we would never make that video because we understand our values and beliefs. So because we understand our values and beliefs, then we can decide on a quantitative determination of the word good in the video sense, which means views. Okay, fine. If we don't do that, you have a huge problem because then you go, well, I think this video is great. I think this video is great. I don't know what to do with that. That's like your personal taste in a video. And taste, as we all know from the fact that we go out to a restaurant very seldom, do all of us order the exact same thing every single time. Why? Because our taste is different. And so I think a lot of business is getting really definitional. What does taste mean? Ooh, taste is difficult to define. So that is a bad word. Instead, we should use
it breaks your prediction engine. And if you want to make money in business, statistics are going to be your best friend because you have to understand, do I do this or do I do this? Which is going to have the bigger impact? You're asking yourself a question of predictability. I predict that based on what I know, if I do this one, I'm going to get the outcome that I want. And that's why you do it. But if your worldview is messed up, if there's something you don't understand, you will choose the wrong thing. Of course, never one or two. There's usually 8,000 options before you. And so people just have no idea how to choose because they don't know how to think. They don't know what they're being lied to. They don't know how to dissect the information that's coming in. They don't know how to test hypotheses. They don't understand when somebody puts something forward, it makes a fucking prediction. And if you ask people, if you stop and go, okay, hold on a second, what prediction does that statement make? And then I'm just going to ask you, is this true? And if in that moment you're worried about looking stupid, then you're just going to nod and smile and give you some bullshit answer, which they will almost always do because they probably don't know what's driving this. They probably never thought about the prediction that it makes. But man, if you really are unafraid to look stupid and you say to somebody, okay, for what you just said to be true, the following base assumption also has to be true. And I'll just say to them, is that true? Or this makes that prediction. Is that accurate? And if they say no, one of two things is true. Either they're wrong, which happens more than you would think. I'm talking from experts, the brightest minds in the world, or you don't understand something. And if you don't understand something and you're not afraid to look stupid, then just keep asking and asking and asking. You understand somebody's worldview, statement, whatever, when you go, it makes this prediction, is that accurate? And they say yes. Then it's like, okay, cool. I understand what you're saying. And now that I understand, I can't be bamboozled. Yeah. And that is the only way to get good at business. And this is why, okay, I think I may have learned this from you, so forgive me. You market it as, I'm going to take you from $0 in revenue to $3 million in revenue. That shall sell all day long.
You're exactly right.
God damn it. It isn't all weather. It will work for one thing in that one moment, but it doesn't translate because it's not a framework.
100%. I mean, I think a couple things there. One is, the real definition of a CEO is a scary one. So if you say you want to be a CEO, here's what a CEO is. It's you go out, you hire the smartest people you can possibly find. You tell them to fix problems. Then they find the problems that are so hard, even the smartest people you can't find can't solve them. They bring them back to you, and you have one job only, which is to deal with the worst problems that the smartest people that you know can't solve. That's all a CEO is. And so if you think you're anything more than a firefighter in the most complex fires of all time, you're crazy. The CEO is not a fun, easy, breezy position. I've never met a CEO that felt that way. That's why they moved to German after a while because they let somebody else deal with it. And so I think that's exactly right. The other thing that I find fascinating there is, so I started contrarian thinking in 2020 with this idea that people lost their minds. They are no longer able to think because they can't question anything. And I believe that you will make more cash if you are curious than if you are a genius. And the reason why is because you can use the collective genius if you are curious, and you are limited by your own genius if you are not. And so, especially with the world of something that you own, you feel it. You have the pleasure, pain, cycle happening within you. And so that is why we eventually started talking about money and contrarian thinking, because I realized it's a Trojan horse to getting people to care about decision making, because they actually have skin in the game and ownership. Ownership is the key to freedom. And that in fact, if you do not have control over your life through financial freedom, it's very hard to have other levels of ownership. And I think that is true.
Yeah, no doubt. Man, ownership is such a part of your message, and I think it's so important. Why don't people have that like push now? That's not the cool thing that it once was.
Yeah, it's not, is it? Yeah, it's interesting. The other day, we had an employee, decided they wanted to leave to go into a meditation community.
Like a monastery?
Not really sure. And I thought about that at first. A really good employee, by the way, great employee. And I thought, well, what is that decision making? And I went back to the quote. I can't remember who it's from, but the purpose of faith or religion is to live it in life. That are you truly it's why the Dalai Lama doesn't stay in Tibet, right? His purpose is to go spread this faith that he has while living life, because life is hard and difficult. It's very easy to stay peaceful if you're in 24/7 meditation states. And yet I think this generation, they presuppose that if they find the perfect circumstance, that will lead to bliss, instead of realizing that actually bliss is found in the difficulty. And so I don't know about this personal situation with this individual, but I thought about this a lot, because I thought, what would make somebody like put their life on pause that way and stay in this one situation? And I think the reason is because we have not been conditioned in this generation to find joy in difficulty. Instead, we want to find joy in extreme pleasure. I mean, look at what we've done to this generation. I mean, this is wild. And even to parents today, we said, parents, run your kids around 24/7 to all of these activities. If they get upset in any way, shape, or form, run to the principal, talk to the parent on their behalf. Don't let them handle it. If something is wrong with them and they are sad or anxious, they are probably depressed, or maybe they have ADHD. We're going to label them and pathologize them as opposed to tell them they're having a momentary issue. We're going to get them into the most expensive colleges, or any college we can, but then they will have a massive amount of student debt. And then on top of that, we're going to tell them that, no, it's okay about every single feeling that you're having, and that is all of this trauma. And yes, your cat died 15 years ago, and you are still carrying that inside of your hips, and that's why they're tight, right? Because that's where you hold the trauma from, fluffy. And so this is what we've told parents and kids. And so of course they're confused. They're confused, and they don't know what real joy is. And they've checked all the boxes. They've done all the things that they thought they were supposed to do. And it's led to them being like in debt, not that happy, not with a partner, and so what's next? So I do, as much as I kind of give my generation, our generation, the next generation a little bit of a hard time, I really get it, because I was told all those same things too, and had to come out on the other side and realize, no, I'm the only one responsible for my happiness, and that there's actually a lot of joy in the journey, and there is no destination that you can reach. And by the way, you can never stay for the rest of your life in perfect meditation. The point of meditation is not that. It is to be in life. I heard this thing the other day that I really liked. I think it was Mel Robbins. And Mel Robbins was saying, the eye of the hurricane is what she tries to be. So, if there's a hurricane and there's chaos and there's tumult and there's broken windows and danger and floods, on the exterior of the hurricane, in the middle of it, it's silent and serene. And so her goal is, no matter what's happening out here, that she wants to stay silent inside. And as I was thinking about that, I was like that philosophy. And I was like, what's even more interesting?
Storm is can everything be burning down around you and you're not panicking?
Yeah.
You're concerned, you're taking decisive action, but you're not panicking.
Yeah.
And what I have found is that the person you lost to the monastery-like place, they're the norm.
Yeah.
What's interesting is to steel man their argument, I keep in my back pocket that life choice. Mm-hmm. I studied Eastern philosophy a lot when I was younger. At one point, I actually called myself a Taoist, and I meant it. I was a Taoist. And I always contended with the idea of becoming a monk of some kind. And I thought, I really believed that the wellspring of all suffering is desire. That makes sense to me. But what I found was that felt like a choice between engaging with life and disengaging from life. And you could say that you're engaging with the pursuit of non-attachment, but it just isn't how it felt to me. Yeah. And I'm perfectly willing to accept that maybe that's just the part of my spiritual journey that I'm on. One day I'll start laughing at myself that detachment was the way I answered all along. Yeah. But I decided I'm going to fully engage with life. But for my sanity, I keep in my back pocket that I could just stop wanting any of this. Yeah. And the second I stop wanting to grow my YouTube channel, to make more revenue, to be an entrepreneur for the ages, to build the next thing, I just let go of all of that. And if I actually let go of it, all of a sudden the punches don't hurt anymore. They don't matter. You just let it go. Now you do have to contend with freedom coming from financial freedom. But one way to do that is to beg for food and live in either a monastery or a cave and come out of your rice bowl. I don't pass judgment on that lifestyle. I just don't currently want it for myself, but it's in my back pocket.
Yeah, I like that pocket idea. I think it's really important to have a definition for it. But if I do ownership, I do not think it has to be an owner. There needs to be a difference between the two. And ownership, in my opinion, there's 4 levels to rich, I think, monetary. So you have the first level is spender. You make money, you spend it. The second level is saver, you make money, you save on it. The third level is owner, in my opinion, that you take money and you apply towards your pursuits. So you invest in you working more, your business, etc. And the fourth level is investor, and that's you take your assets and you invest in other people and their pursuits. And the levels, you can't really go from a spender all the way to investor. I believe. You kind of have to climb the rungs. And I thought a lot about ownership because I don't think everybody should be an entrepreneur or CEO in any way, shape, or form. But I do think that they should have some skin in the game for what they're doing, and they should have a way where they can continue to earn even if something catastrophic happens to them. So that could be that they have additional income streams, that could be investments, that could be that they help their wife or husband learn a new skill, and that's the family has multiple income streams of what they do. It could mean sovereignty and they live on land and they subsidize part of their income that they would need by growing things, like agricultural tax credits. But I think it's really important that we don't become like talk about people who own nothing and like it. I think we need people who want less material things than them, but simultaneously have more to do X, Y, and Z. Money is like, it's an option that you get to either use or not use. And so I need to narrow down this idea of ownership, but I do think you're right. Not everybody should be a CEO. And what trouble would we be in if everybody was one? Who would work with us, right? I think the job of a CEO also is to have a dream so big that your umbrella has room enough for many people and to sell them that dream and to show them that your dream is bigger than anything that they could create individually and is going to uplift them in a way that's bigger than what they could do by themselves. It might be more fun and might be more interesting because high-performing teams are a joy to be in. I actually think one of the worst things that ever happened to us was that we sold this lie that remote work was better for us. I think it was actually really detrimental, and mental health numbers seem to show that. And that, I say online a lot, our teams, we make them as much as possible come back to the office. And it doesn't have to be there every day. We don't put them under fluorescent lights and cubicles, but we do require them to now all be in Austin for contrarian thinking. We buy a studio there, we buy a headquarters, we're hiring like crazy. My other company, BizCard, is located there too. Contrarian thinking capital space there, so it's a holding company. And so I'm bringing all the people back into the office because I see what happens when we're on an island. And I think it's really, really negative. But I have to get closer on that idea of ownership in order to explain it. But even how, it used to be that the people who owned companies were not unaligned shareholders that just gave them money for their stock, right? That really have no ability to affect the outcome. You and I both, if you own stocks, you have a percentage of Google, you have a percentage of Amazon, but you are not really aligned with the employees and the people inside of Google or Amazon. You just want as much money as you can get for that stock. And there's actually really perverse short-term incentives that happen with that.
Really perverse.
And so I think as an employee, part of your game should be they want to strip it and flip it to somebody else, and then that next person wants to strip it and flip it. And a lot of these companies, it's sold by 3 or 4 private equity before they go public, and it lasts another sold. And so I realized, man, I want to build a $1 billion company, maybe multiple $1 billion companies. But I don't want to own all of America's small businesses. I want America Americans to own those businesses. And if I can create value by building something that hasn't existed before, that's cool. But do I have to go gobble up all the things that other people could own within their communities? No. And so I am very much pushing back against the big guys owning everything, and we have to work for them. I think, and I don't know if we talked last time, but for those economic nerds on here, like, if you don't understand the unfair advantage that BlackRock and Blackstone has, it will scare the hell out of you. Like, if you think about it this way, they have immense data, right? Because they've been doing this for a long time. They have most of their former executives have at some point or the other worked in the Fed, been consultants for the Fed, been in political positions, been the chairman of the Fed. They have also, by the way, all been at varying companies like the CEO of BlackRock and Blackstone, who have both been owner of the other company before. And they get rates to buy these companies and houses and assets and anything that you want to talk about. They're like 1/2 to 1/3 to 1/4 of the rates that we have if we want to buy these individual companies. And why do they have that? Because they have all our money. Because you and I have our investments at BlackRock in their ETFs, which means they get to use those assets on the balance sheet to have lower rates to buy things that then increase the prices of single family homes in the US with our dollars. And I think that is criminal. And I don't love them regulating anything, but I think they should at least get their neck off the way.
Get their foot off the neck a little bit.
Get their neck off the way. Yeah, get their foot off the way.
What people need to know about how the world really works and how you went from being an underpaid journalist to buying a portfolio of small, what you call boring businesses that now kick off just under $100 million in annual revenue.
Business in general, especially small business, is way more complicated. So we hear these stories of Silicon Valley billionaires who actually these giant tech companies and built this next social fabric stuff. In reality, you're just a neighbor, you're on the but in most areas, it's probably somebody owns a wine company, somebody owns a local landscaping company.
The community all around you, the survey, I realized, wow, these humans speak a language that I don't understand. Like ROI, EBITDA, basis points. There's this whole other language, and finance has that for a reason. They have it because you and I, as normal people, do not speak that language. And so they say, give me your money, Tom, and trust it to me because you, poor thing, aren't intelligent enough to understand how to shepherd your own future. And so I had people calling me in 2008 when I worked at Vanguard, crying, asking me how Vanguard could have stolen their money because of the crisis, and not realizing that the stock market has fluctuations in it. And at that point, I realized, oh wow, like I'm never going to let this happen to me and mine. And that was hard because my family thought to chase money was evil, and that we were happy and we didn't have a lot of money, so you don't need money. And then I heard this thing called the napkin theory. I can't remember who came up with it, but basically at the time I was struggling with, am I okay to chase after money? Like, is this bad? Am I a bad person for this? And I heard a story about a napkin. And imagine yourself in the middle. So you were standing in the middle, Codie, and around me is my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, my two four corners. And when you, Codie, in the middle, pick up a napkin like this, in order of pursuing financial freedom, you lift up everybody else around you, right? Because you can't see, and also because money trickles. People talk about economics, we think about one way or the other, but money, actually, when you have more around your family, you can hire your family members, you can build new businesses, you can create more wealth by spending it. And so they explained one of the best ways you have to do it, so you can pay everybody else. And that changed a lot for me. I have a bunch of businesses that I own, right? Small businesses largely run by blue collar workers. And I remember calling one of the operators on my companies. I remember the thing which is called in white collar workers and corporate jobs that use words like white coin. Those words don't exist in blue collar land. And so what I tried to do early on is I realized I had some of those words, like therapy, bad, personal development, bad, wrong with you. And I had to re-navigate and negotiate my language. That was the way I changed my relationship with money. So it started with being okay with things, personal, which is totally normal now. Other things I really want today, when people, especially on Twitter, let's say, they start saying things like, oh yeah, you should just get up at 5 a.m., get into a nice bath, then sauna, then whatever, like, you nerds. It's like, hey, I know that seems crazy for a lot of people, but you guys are so inculcated into this world of being elites that you're going to realize actually by trying to tell people that have never experienced what it feels like to be out early and navigate, that's unnecessary. Because it's actually really powerful. So instead of trying to like break out of the world we live in where people are personal development, realize what people are in that world and help them. Don't try to live it. And that's interesting, like brand today. It's like self-education is bad. And I think that's so wrong.
I can't remember where I heard this. Somebody said, I'm you. What is mystery of money? Like, are people intentionally creating a false version of the world to keep other people down?
I think in this case, it's more people who realize they live in bubbles. People on the internet, largely people on the internet, they're just like them. And so a lot of people are not like you and I would say, and you've had a long time. They never
had your experience of hiring ex-convicts, speaking to them and driving them around Beverly Hills. Never. And probably a lot of this generation is
anything even remotely politicky. And then I realized that the world is tearing itself apart because of bad ideas, and that really is my jam. So how we start getting people to pay attention to good ideas. One thing you said that really resonated with me is getting more people to have skin in the game, because if you own part of the house, you don't want to tear it down. What do you mean by that? And what are you actually trying to help people discover in that moment?
Yeah. There's a famous law called strategy finance, right? And economic theory. It is really crucial to understand why people are incentive build. And I heard about famous finance fossil. And it's crucial to understand it's crucial to understand lives. And he talks about this and research analysis, and it shook me. And it was, we looked at subsectors in the US economy. Sunday. That is never going to happen at a Starbucks. And that's why owning those small businesses is so important, I think. And that skin in the game is all the difference. And then I'll shut up. But last thing is just, I don't think everybody should own a business. It's hard. You know that better than anybody. You've been playing this game in a big way. But I do think having some incentive where if I do X more, I can make Y more, and I can leave my stamp on the world, it's really important. So that's my mission.
I love that. I think it's really important. As you were talking, so you're going to own nothing and be happy. So when I got into this, I really thought, anybody, if you believed in any conspiracy, you were out of your mind. You were like, oh, she's like, do I even have time to have this conversation? And then I really started thinking about the way people think. So here's my thesis. Dear smart people, stop trusting yourself because you think you're real fucking clever. And I'm just going to tell you right now, you're wrong more than you're right. I'm glad the world has smart people. I'm glad people really push the envelope and do things and take chances and believe in themselves. That's what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the scientific method. But you have to approach everything with humility and not hear things like you know nothing. It's like, stop doing top down, always entering, not once, not most of the time, it always entering. And so seeing people snatching buildings or whatever, one, I think it's unwise to think there's a conspiracy. I think it's better than well-intentioned people, smart people, they still do themselves evil, but they have a system that we have to know. And we have to understand we can take business. They can get so good, they can stop controlling your life. They can get so good, they can buy boring business. That you 100 million so crazy. And people understand that. I love that you do that. I think more take stands than
MCAT prep. I forget what the other thing was, but I was
also
just like, oh God, it was so on point. And yet you learn the rules of a game and now you play that game well. And so I've been thinking a lot about, okay, my show's evolved a lot over the years.
Or soccer around the world, and which is the most viewed sport in the world, right? Globally, yep. Which I love. And I think also, if you think about it as a game, then you think about problems as levels, and you think about them as natural, and you start to look forward to the solution of said problem, as opposed to expecting that life, instead of a game, is a vacation with a Mai Tai on a beach chair somewhere, which I think is what a lot of us expect. Like, it should be easy. I should have this. It's not fair that this happened. It's like, why do we think that we want life without some villains in it, and without some worthwhile adversaries? There's no David without Goliath. And so you need those enemies and adversaries, because they're how boring of a game would be if we were just handed the prize as soon as we walked on stage. And so I've tried to go around my mind over the years and learn from people who look at problems and like, this is doing about that. I think victory is to use the lightsaber, use the laser gun. And if you do business too, then I think this whole opportunity opens in front of you, where you become the wizard behind the curtain, and you realize, oh man, actually every single game you play, there's rules, then there's break those rules, then there's trends, and there's rules, and there's villains. And so as soon as you realize that you have fun, I have so much fun just being online because there's a giant game. It's hard over that. There are tons of villains who want to watch other people. There's feedback that tells you if you are succeeding or not almost almost immediately. And that is just like business. So if you like playing around with social media, and you want to be so viral because you're an attention span, then you actually like business too. And that's why you like, well, I want to be an influencer online, or I want to be a singer, or an artist. It's like, no, is that actually what you want? You want that label, or do you want to play a game, and you have some skill set that you can uniquely apply, and everybody will lose. And
They do want to
I know they're happy. Let's get
They're not, because the instance where I really want to get into it, people actually work with psychology, yours and others. And the reality is people do want fame for nothing. They do want money for nothing. Now, they don't understand the money is so they know what you want to do. It's going to control you. And they will you. And so
with themselves, but that really is true. And so the question is, how do we get people to understand that, in fact, you've said this, the happiness is struggle. And once you understand, the way that I come at it is from an evolutionary lens. So over millions of years of evolution, nature realized that it had to put algorithms in your mind. One of those algorithms is you won't enjoy anything if you don't work hard for it. Period. Because nature had to make sure you were willing to face a saber-toothed tiger, go hunt, go gather, like every day in an unrelenting parade of difficulty and misery. You had to keep going. And so there had to be a trust about yourself. But there's a reason that rich kids implode, because when you get that thing, it's not going to hold the emotional weight that you wanted it to. And so the thing I fear with kids is, when I got into business, I didn't do it so I could get on the gram. The gram didn't exist. So I spent almost 20 years just building businesses, not thinking one day people will think I'm cool for this. I was doing it just so I could launch my studio. That was it, man. I fucking ground myself into the dirt in order to be able to do it. And it was only, I was already worth hundreds of millions of dollars before I picked up my first social post. And if I could get people to fall in love with, go get good, that will feel way better than all the likes that you could ever get, all the followers and all of that. That shit is transient. But being good at something is forever.
when you get rich and or famous, you start to get around other people that are rich and famous. What's interesting then is they can see who's real and who's not, like this. And you start to crave actually the respect of people that you respect. And so I've seen it implode real fast because, you know, I have a friend and he's young and he's done well, made a couple of tens of millions of dollars online. Now, but he's done it in ways that people just don't want to associate with it. And so it's this empty thing. You have to pretend to a legion of humans listening to you that you're the real deal. And at the same time, you feel it. And so I'm talking about it a decent amount. I'm like, man, you've got the thing. You're just chasing the wrong rabbit. And so you got to find your actual real rabbit because you're never going to have the respect just from the likes and clicks. And you'll get it once you're around a bunch of humans. You're like, oh, he's a builder. Oh, he's not interested in ideas. No, he's not a hustler. Because that's not really what the people that you want respect from are interested in. It's like, no, he's a creator. And by that I mean a creator of value in this world. And most people don't know to strive for that. They think that we walk around comparing bank accounts. Like, oh, do you see this? I'm real. It's like, no, I have no idea what's in your bank account. I have no idea. And also, if I told you, what's that mean? Nothing. It's not about everything. You talk about money in your head, things you really know worthwhile for us to have a conversation. It doesn't work out. And at a certain point, that's where you know you have success. And so we start talking about how you network with people. It's people that don't like people and try to do cool or inspiring or things that raise your curiosity. Because you have to just attract people who are interested and trying to.
And that, I think, is the real joy of what we get to do. Is like, I don't really care about, I mean, you've been in this game for a long time. I've met a lot of famous people and a lot of people on the interwebs. I'm like, oh, I could do without that. Never mind. Not what I thought. And it to them because they're builders now too, but maybe not the world that I want to see exactly.
Right. I get that. I'm a little obsessed with Kim Kardashian. I'm not going to lie. And when she lit the internet on fire by saying maybe you should need to work harder, I was like, yes, motherfucker. People need to work harder. I could not believe that was controversial. I
agree with that statement.
I stand in solidarity with Kim Kardashian. With Kim. I don't know the rest well enough, but I will say that, yes, it is, what she has built is very impressive. Now, how are we all supposed to feel that it started from a sex tape? I don't know.
I don't care about that. I think like that sucks that somebody did that to her or that it got out. I don't know. That's like, I don't care. I'm not a Puritan. I think I'm more just like, oh, do I really think, and I use it, so what the fuck, you know, do I think we need more makeup brands or more like clothing brands everywhere?
Interesting. To me, that's a brand play. And so that's all psychology, which I'm all for. I don't have any beef with that. And I really don't have beef with social media and leveraging that.
Yeah.
There is something at the edges. I'm not taking the time to dive into this. I'm really sort of spouting off right now.
Yeah, it's probably good.
But that I haven't thought about.
Yeah,
Well, I'll tell you, like, she did, a friend of mine, Matt Higgins, does a class at Harvard Business School every year. He invited her in to be a case study. And I actually thought that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, me too.
So in the modern era, but there's something at the edges that
Well, and maybe not even that. I think it's cool that humans are really in public, and I think anytime you have people who build multiple billion-dollar businesses, not just $1 billion business, there's something to learn there, and you're crazy to be a moral absolutist and say, I got nothing to learn, because it started from a sex tape. How many sex tapes are out there? And they're not billionaires, so there's fucking something to learn there.
So I would take a master class from her and her larger bank account any day. But I do think what I would like to see a little bit more of are like more people like you, more people like, Andy Frisella, more people like...
through the choices that you make, the products that you build, and that we're living in an era where that's also great marketing.
Yeah, it's hard to be obsession. You know, you can have all the tactics and tools and money and leg up, but if somebody is obsessed with the thing they're spending every day building, they're hard to beat because they'll just work longer, they'll sacrifice more, and I do think that your success level often is tied to the sacrifice that you're willing to give. Doesn't mean you have to work 100 hours a week, but it does mean you need to sacrifice a lot if you want to achieve massive success. And I think anybody who says you don't probably has never played the game.
There's no way.
Yeah.
There is no way.
No.
Everyone has to fight against entropy.
Yeah.
And so I won't say that nobody ever didn't get lucky. Of course, some people felt like that's just going to be such a minor thing. But the thing that's fascinating, sitting down across from you, who is a fellow builder, is that you actually know how to do this. So what I want to do now is go, okay, look, we've talked mindset. Hopefully people understand that money isn't what you thought. It's actually more powerful, but it's different. You really can do this. It really is about pulling back the curtain. It's about understanding psychology, knowing how the world works, understanding how to insert yourself into it. But to do that, for anybody at home that's like, okay, I want to do this. But now let's get into the real tactics. So that obsession becomes a set of skills. It really is that simple. And how do people, I think it's really twofold. One, how do they know which mountain to climb? And maybe we're telling that also wonderful story. Yeah. And then once they know what mountain to climb, let's really get into the how does one climb.
Well, I think I was the class I taught us to know myself, or like lifestyle. But I do think so I think if I could go back and do something different, that would have gotten me out of working corporate jobs I didn't really like for 12 years, even though it was second cash, so I was doing it. What would change that for me would have been if I had thought more about who am I want. And so if it was hasn't actually been consistently, I did what thing I do today? What am I actually doing? What do I do for advice? What do I do? What do I do? What are things that I so interesting?
It's like they talk about that flow state. The whole world just goes whoom, and you're narrowed in. And maybe even your family's annoyed because you won't shut up about this one thing that you're doing all the time, right? Where can you find those things? And as you narrow in,
Thing I heard you say in another interview, and I was like, oh my God, know thyself. As you said, I'm never gonna have the next idea about a music app or whatever. That's just not me. And I was like, whoa. Because people want to be cool. They want to be the person with the big ideas. Everybody thinks they want to be the CEO, but not everybody's wired for that. And then even if they are, they may not be a product-led CEO. Maybe they're a people-led CEO or a process CEO, whatever. But not everybody has to be on that same thing. But once you own, okay, that's not me. Now you can start narrowing your focus to what your strategy is going to be. And that's the cool thing about you is that you really have taken a super unique path to generate, I repeat, just under $100 million a year. So the fact you're able to do that unique path, but it's born out of finally going, oh, I'm just going to be honest about who I really am, what I actually respond to. The question I think people ask themselves along those lines is, when you're trying to figure out what it is you want to do, first of all, who do you want to serve? Because you'll never fight hard enough unless you're serving somebody. But what is the thing that you're prepared to become best in the world at? Because if you're just prepared to get good, you'll get crushed. But anyway, you're probably never going to actually become best. But when you think about that, you know that's going to be unbelievable. And then you're approaching the problem honestly.
Yeah, well, actually, this is part of the thing I love, which is instead of saying what I want, what are my goals, it's what I want and what I want to get. And so he has to do this within every year. He's actually balanced. Really? He's instead of doing this. He's not stimulated by money and vision.
Are you like the Oracle? Really that's the word?
You have enough cash to do it. First class, even today, where everybody's posting about their private jets or whatever, first class today is one of the best investments you can make if you sit and talk with some of the other people in first class, except not me, because I hate talking to people on planes.
I was going to say facts. If you see
facts. All right. We get to talking, and I'm like, all right, you ran Abercrombie and Kent. You sold it twice, once for $1 billion, and then going to sell it again and probably for another X, and bought it back. I'm like, what was the secret? Yeah, he's fascinating. I was like, what do you think the secret is? Like, you did this for 60 years, like billions in valuation. And he's like, 60 years plus the same thing. It's like time plus consistency beats everything else. And I was like, God, it's so true, and not what people want to hear. Because most people hear, oh, you could be a billionaire at 97 years old, like Warren Buffett. No thanks. I'd rather have a billion today. And they think, but I sit there and listen to that, and I'm like, this is fascinating. Like, what if the only thing that separates a billionaire and you is time of working really hard on a particular thing plus consistency of doing that thing, getting better, and iterating every single day? That means that we have a much more even playing field than I think people will tell you today.
It compounds. There's no doubt. We were talking before, so everyone, this is my mental illness. I really have a very hard time narrowing my focus. And I'm so keenly aware that narrowing my focus will give me better results. But the problem's also human. It's why I love my life. And so when I'm very envious of people like my wife, for whom the thing she wants to spend her time doing and becoming best at, she loves from top to bottom. And so she's just all about it. There thankfully it's not like I have 7 things I'm trying to do, but I have 2, and I cannot seem to stop myself. They're tied, but there is a big enough gap in well where if I would just do like media in front of the camera, or I would just do storytelling game development, my life would be better. Abstract out to what he understands how to do is recognize a deal when he sees it. That's it. As far as I can tell, that's all Warren Buffett knows how to do.
That plus operate.
I don't know. I don't know him well enough to know manager. As I tell people, if I'm micromanaging you, it's because you're not delivering results. I don't want to pay attention to you. What I want to do is the part I like, the part that I'm uniquely good at. That's all I want to focus on. And if I'm getting results in other areas, amazing. The problem is when you're the CEO, you have a big responsibility. You have to paint vision, you have to keep people excited. Anyway, I have a feeling that even Elon Musk, there might be networking things that work for him, but I have a feeling each one of his companies would be better off if he gave it 100% of his time and focus. It's just he has such a freak, and the rate at which he can think, and also of his own ambition. He's not the CEO of many of his companies. He's usually the lead product and engineer guy. And so his mind just seems to work very, very fast. So there's some level of what's the speed at which you think and how many tasks do you take on. So for instance, if I can think faster, which would not be a stretch, I'm not a fast thinker. I'm a fast talker who thinks slowly and deeply about a lot of subjects. And so I confuse people who think I'm a fast thinker, but I'm not. So if I can think faster, then I can have more output across more things. But so less. It really is. So you need the tactical side here. So you need to know yourself. You know what your skill set is. You need to be very careful not to misalign your particular skill set with your particular. The cool thing you realize, okay, I'm not going to help next business. I'm going to go buy business. How do you begin to build a criteria? Because you have so many specific criteria from your average tripod to your deal valuation companies criteria. If you really synthesize stuff, how do you begin to that? How do you begin to formulate it?
I forgot memory. And so, so one of the worst things about memory is memory is the and frameworks and memes or specific grammar actually help you. And so really I have to tripod and do boxing and rules and these things because I so I think once you has exactly what I have to do, and we talk about these strengths that I one you're trying to get so I go, hey, what is this about? So
and probably I don't know if you're the same, but
exactly the same. Like when people are like, oh man, like you're being so hard on people, I'm like, bro, I'm talking to myself.